Okay, everybody, I have a quick lesson today, but I think it's a really important one and a really good one because I think it's something to really consider as you move forward as a reader and even as a person. And the topic today is attending to minor characters and to look for missing perspectives. And it's really critical to be an analytical thinker to have this skill and to start practicing the skills. So today we'll start practicing it. So what you're going to do is start thinking about some of the minor characters, and they could even be very, very minor characters, but who might have a very different perspective from the protagonist. And that's, in your own life, you're the protagonist of your own story. And as you become more and more of an adult, and some of you already really are, to start to look at things deeply and meaningfully and really explore them from other people's perspectives is really going to make you a more, a richer person and a more empathetic person. So I'm kind of toggling back and forth between my slideshow and the video. So hopefully you cannot see the slideshow at this point, but in any case, so today, as you're jotting notes, and what I'm going to want you to talk to your group about when we meet, which will probably be on Monday, is some of these characters that you might have previously overlooked. So I'm going to read to you a little bit from the book that we finished together on our last lesson, From Patrol by Walter Dean Myers. And I want you to read about the perspectives here and consider what these perspectives bring to the story. "Secure the village," a sergeant calls. He points toward the enemy. The enemy. A brown woman with rivers of age etched deeply into her face. An old man, his eyes heavy with memory. And babies. Babies. Little enemies. Crying on the mud roads. Little enemies. With tears running down dusty cheeks. So those three characters, the old woman, the old man, and the babies, as a third sort of clumpy character together, are only mentioned at that time in the story. So you can see these are very minor characters, and yet, and then the sergeant, of course. So you can think about for a second the roles of the sergeant in that excerpt and the roles of these elderly people and of the babies. And what I want to do, and the skill, is to take these characters who are not in the spotlight, they are not the protagonist, and really shine a spotlight right on those characters and think to yourself, what is their perspective, and try to lend them a voice. So for example, if I were to think about the old woman in that scenario, I would think about, she's Vietnamese. This is where she lives. She's clearly not a part of this political scene. She's in a little village. She's a senior citizen. And people from another country have come in with guns to her village and are taking it over in some way. And how terrifying that must be. And really, I mean, if that was happening in our own town, in Morton Grove, and, your grandmother or my father was all of a sudden pulled out of their home by people who are speaking a language they don't speak, pointing guns at them, and treating them like an enemy in some way. And they're just, I mean, how befuddling that must be, and how, just terrifying. So those are the things, that's the skill I want you to do, and take that same spotlight. And even if it's mentioned, a character is mentioned maybe only once in your book, if you could look at it and say, really shine a bright spotlight on it. And if that person could talk, what might they say about what they're experiencing at this point in history? And it doesn't have to be a historical fiction book. I know some of you have moved on from that, but minor characters frequently have an important part of the plot, an important part. They're not there for no reason at all. They're actually taking the story forward in some way. So to really examine that, and I'm going to put on in the folder some ways for you to think about it. Normally I'd hand it to you right now. I'd hand you a little piece of paper, but I'm going to just post it for you if you want to have some ways to get your mind, if you're not quite sure how to think about it and you want some sentence starters, such as, it seems like there's a pattern here. All of these, these are two elderly people. So if you're looking for patterns, well, elderly people are frequently less powerful, more vulnerable, and so are babies. So maybe there's a pattern in Walter Dean Myers bringing up these people in this same paragraph, and also juxtaposing it with the sergeant who's like, secure this village, like his whole perspective too is very different. And he's, I'm sure, got terror of his own because he's got responsibilities. So, looking at patterns too. So I will post this little sort of cheat sheet for you that's going to help you deepen your thinking. If you do a little thinking work on a book that you finished or the book that you're reading now, that'd be super cool. Okay, I will talk to you soon.